Welcome to the Twinkl Talks EYFS podcast. Working in the early years is busy, funny, messy, and exhausting. Join me, Shana, some of the Twinkl EYFS team, special guest speakers, and other early years practitioners as we talk honestly about our experiences. Whether you're listening for CPD, on your commute, or to help you relax, Twinkl EYFS will share everything you need to know about all things early years.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Twinkl Talks at EYFS, this week with the Private Early Years team. My name's Katie.
And I'm Charlotte.
And I'm Georgia.
And in today's episode, we're going to be answering a couple of questions that have recently come up on our social media. And I think we've got quite a range this week and some potentially controversial topics to look at. So we'll get stick straight in with one that I think crops up all the time in any aspect of early years, which is I've worked in childcare for a while now, and I find it really hard to come up with new ideas. Any suggestions to help me with this?
I used to use Pinterest a lot when I worked in preschool. It was always the first thing that I used to go to look for activity ideas. Don't know why, I just feel like Pinterest is quite a nice visual platform, and you can see the activities in front of you. And then obviously if you click on them, it gives you more information on how to set them up and what to do. But Pinterest was always one that I would go to.
I completely agree. I would use Pinterest all the time. Like you said, it's just so pretty to look at. Although also in a weird sense, I found it quite demotivating because my activity trays never ended up looking like they did on Pinterest. And I could never figure out why.
It's like the Instagram versus reality thing, isn't it? Like they look so beautiful on Pinterest and then you try to replicate it and it's just not the same.
Yeah. Do you know, like you have an image in your head and you're like, do you know what? I can absolutely draw a picture of a horse. But actually what comes out on the piece of paper is a stick horse, and you can't actually tell if it's a horse or a dog. And I feel like some people have a skill at making pretty activities and some people don't, and I just don't.
I think as well, if you have like social media and you're big on using it, it's such a helpful tool, especially if you have Instagram or TikTok or anything like that, because you can follow early years accounts, influencers that are early years based because they post lovely videos and activity inspiration. And you can also use like the hashtags that are related to early years, and then it'll bring up sort of what you're wanting, you know, if you're wanting babies or toddlers or anything like that. It's social media is a good tool to use.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I used it a lot when I was in practice, like searching for specific things like activities as well, or events that are coming up. But as well, I think learning from looking at the children, like what are they interested in, is a big way to get inspiration as well, because whatever you set up or create, like it's going to be more successful if it's something based around what the children are really interested in.
For sure. And if they're interested, like you said, in a particular nursery rhyme or activity or area of provision, like just capitalize on it. I think as well, sometimes in early years, we were just discussing, you get obsessed with this idea that your activity has to look good, but actually it doesn't. Remember, these are 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, babies. Like, it doesn't need to be the prettiest thing in the world. It actually just needs to be functional and enjoyable. They just want to get their hands in. Great that you put shaving foam out, dyed it green, and put it in the shape of Christmas tree because it's Christmas in a week. But actually, the bit of the activity that the children are going to enjoy is the sensory element of getting stuck in with shaving foam. So it's actually removing some of that stress. Like, this has to be the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen, I think is really important as well.
Yeah, as long as the children are learning from it and they're getting out benefits, then I think it's more of like, because people like to put it on social media, so they like it to look a certain way because it's like, oh, look at what we've been doing today. But sometimes I enjoy looking at the pictures of the children just like getting messy and getting involved in it on social media. They're the really nice pictures because you can see how much they're enjoying it.
What we don't get enough of on social media is I always want like a before and an after of an activity. So show me your beautiful Christmas tree shaving foam. But then I want to see what it looks like at the end, because I love seeing that like empty activity tray where there's just like traces of it left and it's actually just all over the children instead.
I was just going to say as well, sometimes it's good to look back at your past activities that you did maybe a few years ago or a month ago, and you can always sort of revisit old ones but then tweak them because you might have a new set of children or they might have a different interest at the time. So you can always sort of look at what you've done before and then change it a little bit. It doesn't always have to be a big dramatic change, but you might have done it one time and that didn't work, or you might think, oh, I've got a better idea now. So sometimes revisiting like past things that you've done is a good way to like reignite new ones.
Absolutely. You don't need to reinvent the wheel every single time, because that's so unsustainable. Say you're coming up with one activity a day. That's 5 a week, 20 a month, 140 a year or something like that. That's a lot to be doing. Like, it doesn't need to be fresh. Like you said, you could take an activity and just reinvent it slightly for the different themes and topics you might be looking at across the year, as long as you know the children are enjoying it and there is like a suitable learning objective for someone. It's all good, really, isn't it? And then, of course, completely unshamelessly, Twinkl obviously have tons of activity ideas. So if you look on the website, separated by ages and separated by topics, there's all sorts of planning resources. We actually have a blog that just focuses on different sources of inspiration that we've all used that you can get stuck into. And we're on thousands of social media channels, and we regularly post ideas of activities with things that real life practitioners have been doing in their settings, because taking out that imagination element really helps you. So there are always so many different sources of inspiration that you can use.
So I saw this question on social media and I was a little bit taken back by it, I'm not going to lie, because I did think, whoa. But someone asked, should early years staff be bag searched on arrival into setting?
They're so interesting. First of all, there's a story there, and just from a straight up gossiper perspective, love to know that story. I'm sure we can all guess. But I have never had my bag searched at nursery before. I don't know if you guys have.
No, it's not something
No.
I've encountered either. Yeah, like Charlotte said, when I read that question, I was a bit like, whoa, there's definitely a reason behind that. Like, there's an incident that's happened here. But no, it's not something I've ever experienced.
But do you think if something had happened, would you be comfortable with it? So say you're working in a setting and something's gone missing, perhaps from someone else's bag in the staff room, or like money from petty cash in the office or something. Is that something that you think a setting should be able to do? Just for a little bit of controversy today.
I was going to say, I've had experiences of having our lockers searched. I know it's not the same thing as your bag, but we have had our lockers searched before when things have gone missing, which I don't mind. Like, I don't know if it's just because like I'm quite an open person, but I don't really mind having my stuff searched if it's for a reason of someone's lost something, or there is like it's been done for a reason that is, it's not a silly reason, then I wouldn't mind. It wouldn't bother me. But yeah, I think it's quite scary, because obviously the world we live in now, it's just showing that, you just don't know what people could be bringing in and stuff like that. But I know a few people mentioned like phones being brought in to the room, and like people vaping and things like that now in the toilets. So maybe it's something to do with
toilets.
Yeah.
That's so crazy, isn't it? Because doesn't that just seem like those two particular examples, you just know you can't do those actually in. You can't play on your phone and you can't smoke your vape actually in work. They feel quite obvious, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Like a safeguarding policy we had at nursery was we had our phones sort of like locked away in a safe place, which seems a little bit more reasonable than like the bag search. I feel like I would be comfortable with it because personally I wouldn't have anything to hide, but I feel like there's probably maybe a better way to safeguard, or potentially a better way to have dealt with the issue that may have happened in a bit more of a sensitive way. Because this seems like a lot of extra work for them as well now.
Thinking back to the policies in the setting, like I definitely wrote some when I was there, and I remember reviewing the ones that I didn't write. I don't know if this was actually something that was ever written into a policy. I vaguely remember something about drug testing if they had suspicions. Again, it was never acted on though when I was there. I personally wouldn't be against it, but I feel like it's something that the setting has to be careful about. Again, can't give any legal advice at all, but I suppose that's something that the owners, managers of the setting have to consider as well from that perspective. So if you work in a setting and it's in the policy, you have agreed to follow those policies. So it's kind of something that you just have to deal with because you've agreed with it. But if it's not, I think it's something that needs to be just taken on a case by case basis quite carefully.
Yeah, and if you manage a setting, it might even be worth revisiting your policies because, like Charlotte mentioned, vaping and stuff like that's a reasonably new thing. Like, it might be worth incorporating that into your policies, or checking it and getting the people to sort of review it and sign it again, just to make sure that you are all singing from the same hymn sheet.
There are managers all over England sighing now, being like,
Sorry, everyone.
George has just given us homework.
So another question we've received on our social media is, do you allow children to bring in their own toys into setting, excluding comforters for young children?
I've worked at a variety of settings, and I've never worked anywhere where a child is like actually allowed. It normally gets turned down at the door, but children are little smugglers and they'll like crack out a little toy car out of their pocket randomly at some point in the day, or they just appear back in the room and they've got a teddy bear. But everywhere I've worked, it's not been something that's encouraged.
I used to struggle with it so much in preschool. They'd bring their entire like toy collection.
I've brought every single piece of Lego I have from home in today.
Yeah, I would be like, we have toys in the room that are just as good. But yeah, I'd have some mornings where I would have to like literally wrestle children to get toys from them to put. They wouldn't give them to the parents, and the parents were rushing to go to work. So they were like, oh, I'll just, leave you to deal with it kind of thing. So then we'd be like, right, we're going to put it in our bag. And then when you get home, you can play with it again. And like you said, we'd go out to get the coats to go outside. They'd sneak it out and put it in the pocket. And then I'd find them playing with it in the playground. Or some of them used to like hide it like up their tops and everything. Like they were just so sneaky with it. But when they did bring them into the room on the odd occasion, all it would cause is fight.
Yeah, it never worked out fun, did it? It was never a good scenario.
I'd be like, well, if you do have it in the room, you have to share it with the other children, and then it would just cause so many problems, or it would get broken, tears would start flowing, and yeah, it was it just never ended very well. Did bring in their own toy.
Can you just imagine a parent picking a child up and it's like a weirdly expensive toy and you're like, it got broken today, sorry, because I don't personally think that's the setting's responsibility to pay for, but I feel like some parents would, and then you're in a weird and awkward position. What a nightmare.
Yeah, and even if it's not expensive, sometimes they'd bring in like their favourite teddy, and then it's pickup time and you're searching the whole nursery for this one little teddy that they've lost. And it's not worth it. Like Charlotte said, it causes lots of problems with sharing and things like that. So one thing we did was like do it like a show and tell. So they could bring something in. Then there's like a certain time to get it out and show their friends. There was like a clear boundary, and then it went back in their bag, which obviously wasn't always successful either. But it was a way to sort of allow them to come in and share things with their friends, but put them back in their bag after.
It reminds me of when I was at nursery myself as a child, and jelly shoes were really cool. I don't know if you remember those. And my mum said that I couldn't wear them to nursery because they weren't part of, I was in a school nursery, so it wasn't part of the uniform. So, this is quite genius for a child, but I took in a carrier bag of books, and then I put my shoes under the books, and I said to my mum, I want to take these books to nursery today. She's just like, oh, my darling daughter, so smart and clever with her reading, of course. Then when I got to nursery, I got changed into my jelly shoes, and then nursery had to call my mum and be like, this is non-regulation uniform. These shoes are quite dangerous. You're slipping and sliding all over the joint. So kids are smart. Sneaky. And they will find ways around it. Especially those shoes were my life. I loved them so much. Pink and glittery. I think about them a lot as an adult.
I used to wear my jelly shoes to school.
And you could do it.
Yeah, I used to have the little white frilly socks with my checkered dress. And I used to wear mine were like silver ones, like clear silver glittery ones. But there's like pictures of me like in my school uniform with them on. So maybe my school was a bit more chill.
If any of my teachers are listening, I'm not impressed. Did you wear them, Georgia?
It seems like a massive core memory for you guys, but at this point I'm struggling to remember.
Oh, this is where it's obvious that me and Charlotte are just a little bit older than Georgia. What a harsh reminder.
I'm not so emotionally attached to the jelly shoes as you, I'm afraid.
You can get adult versions now as well.
Katie's going to be straight on the internet to get them now.
I probably won't, because now I'm very much like a Doc Martin and a Converse kind of girl. I so rarely wear sandals now as an adult. I don't know why. Plus, I did think to be fair, they were a hazard. Like, I did slip and slide all over the place in my little jelly shoes. I get why they were banned. I just wanted to be cool. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Twinkl Talks EYFS. We've been the Private Early Years team, and as always, you can find us on a multitude of social media channels where you can find activity inspiration or share your own questions. But as always, please feel free to get in touch. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
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 So that's it for today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you would like to join in or would like to know more, then come and find us on our social media sites. We have a Facebook page, Facebook groups, an Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube. All the links of where to find us will be in our podcast description. Come and join the conversation. And whatever you're doing today, I hope you have a great day.